On April 21, 2025, the world paused to mourn the passing of Pope Francis, the first Latin American pontiff in the history of the Catholic Church. He died at the age of 88 in his residence at Casa Santa Marta in the Vatican, succumbing to a stroke that led to an irreversible cardiac arrest. His death marked the end of a 12-year papacy that reshaped the Church and left an indelible mark on millions of hearts. Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on December 17, 1936, was a man defined by humility, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to the marginalized. Elected in 2013 following the historic resignation of Benedict XVI, Francis stood out for his simplicity and pastoral approach. He rejected the traditional opulence of the papacy, choosing to live in a modest residence rather than the lavish papal apartments. His message of inclusion, advocacy for the poor, and fight for social justice resonated in a divided world. Yet he also faced criticism from conservative factions within the Church, who accused him of diluting traditional teachings. Through this story, we will explore Francis's life, from his humble beginnings in Argentina to his global impact as the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics, and how his legacy continues to inspire the world after his passing. Early years, a boy from Buenos Aires. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was born in the Flores neighborhood of Buenos Aires to a family of Italian immigrants. His father, Mario, was an accountant, and his mother, Regina Sivori, dedicated herself to raising their 5 children. From a young age, Jorge displayed a cheerful yet reflective nature. At 12, during a confession at the Basilica of San Jose de Flores, he felt a profound spiritual calling that shaped his life. That day, I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to God, he later wrote in his book, Let Us Dream. However, his teenage years were not without worldly experiences. He worked as a bouncer at a bar and as a chemical technician after graduating high school, experiences that connected him to the working world and later influenced his ministry. At 21, Jorge faced a health crisis that nearly cost him his life. A severe respiratory infection led to surgery to remove part of his lung. During his recovery, he experienced a deep connection to suffering, which strengthened his faith and empathy for the sick. This experience became a cornerstone of his life, a constant reminder of human fragility. In 1958, he entered the Jesuit novitiate, beginning a path that led to his ordination as a priest in 1969. His Jesuit formation, with its emphasis on education and service to the needy, shaped his view of faith as an act of action, not just contemplation. Path to priesthood and service in Argentina. As a priest, Bergoglio distinguished himself through his closeness to the poor. During the 1970s, a turbulent time in Argentina marked by a military dictatorship, he served as the provincial superior of the Jesuits. This was a period of difficult decisions. Some criticized him for not doing enough to protect priests persecuted by the regime, while others praised his discretion in saving lives in a dangerous context. He later reflected, "I did what I could, but I'll always wonder if I could have done more." This humility and self-criticism would remain constant traits throughout his life. In the 1990s, Bergoglio was appointed Auxiliary Bishop of Buenos Aires and later Archbishop. His ministry focused on the Villas Miseria, the city's slums. He celebrated masses in the streets, visited the sick, and supported community kitchens, often donating money from his own pocket. Matilda Dolores, a retired nurse who knew him during this time, recalls, "He always spoke up for the needy. He was a priest who truly lived among us." His direct, unpretentious pastoral style made him a beloved figure, though it also created tensions with some sectors of the Argentine Church who favored a more traditional approach. A papacy of inclusion and reform. Francis's papacy was marked by an emphasis on mercy and inclusion. In a polarized world, he advocated for migrants, the poor, and the marginalized. In 2016, he visited the Moria Detention Center in Lesbos, Greece, and brought 12 Syrian refugees back to the Vatican, a gesture that resonated globally. His encyclicals, such as Laudato Si' 2015, addressed climate change, criticizing unchecked capitalism and its impact on the vulnerable. This created tensions with conservative leaders, including some within the Vatican, who accused him of straying from traditional doctrine. Francis also opened discussions on taboo topics within the Church. While maintaining the official stance against same-sex marriage, he showed unprecedented openness toward the LGBTQ+ community, famously saying, "Who am I to judge?" He promoted more significant roles for women, though he stopped short of supporting their ordination as priests. He tackled sexual abuse scandals with stricter measures, but his initial response was criticized as slow, particularly when he initially supported some accused bishops before reversing his stance after listening to victims. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Francis demonstrated his spiritual leadership. In March 2020, in an empty St. Peter's Square under the rain, he prayed for the end of the pandemic, a moment that moved the world. "We are all in the same boat, fragile and disoriented," he said, urging global solidarity. He also advocated for vaccination, facing resistance from skeptical factions within the Church. Health challenges and final days. Francis's health was a constant concern during his papacy. Having lost part of a lung in his youth, he suffered from recurring respiratory issues. In 2021, he underwent colon surgery, and in 2023, he faced an abdominal hernia that required another hospital visit. In early 2025, severe bronchitis developed into bilateral pneumonia, forcing him to spend 38 days at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Despite doctors' orders to avoid crowds, Francis insisted on keeping his commitments, including the Easter blessing on April 20, 2025, where he greeted the faithful from the Pope-mobile. On April 21 at 7:35 a.m., Francis suffered a stroke that led to a coma and an irreversible cardiac arrest. His last words, according to his healthcare assistant Massimiliano Strapetti, were a "thank you" for taking him to St. Peter's Square the previous day. He was tired but happy, Strapetti recounted. The Vatican confirmed that Francis also suffered from hypertension and type 2 diabetes, conditions that worsened his state. Following his death, Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlengo of the Church, announced the passing and sealed the papal apartments. Francis's body was moved to the chapel of Casa Santa Marta and later to St. Peter's Basilica, where over 200,000 people came to pay their respects during the mourning period. His funeral, held on April 26th at St. Peter's Basilica, drew over 250,000 attendees, including world leaders like U.S. President Donald Trump and King Charles III of the UK. Per his wishes, Francis was buried in a simple tomb at the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, inscribed with Franciscus, a legacy of hope. Francis's legacy is complex but deeply human. For many, he was a symbol of hope and change, a pope who brought the Church to the peripheries, as he often said. His advocacy for the poor and critique of global inequalities resonated in a world marked by war and climate crisis. However, he also faced resistance within the Church, with conservative factions accusing him of being too progressive. Despite the criticism, Francis left a church more open to dialogue. His emphasis on mercy and humble style inspired millions to rediscover their faith. In Argentina, his death prompted 7 days of national mourning, while in Rome, the poorest, whom he championed, came to bid farewell at Santa Maria Maggiore. "He was the Pope of the poor, our Pope," said Emanuela Tinari, a Roman who attended the funeral. The death of Pope Francis marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of a new reflection on the Church's role in the modern world. His life, from humble beginnings in Buenos Aires to his global leadership, was a testament to faith, humility, and service. Francis not only transformed the Church with his message of inclusion and mercy, but also challenged the world to look toward the most vulnerable. As the cardinals prepare for the conclave to elect his successor, Francis's spirit lives on in the communities he touched. His simple tomb at Santa Maria Maggiore, devoid of adornments, reflects his essence, a man who lived for others, not himself. In a divided world, Francis left a clear message: we are all in the same boat. His legacy invites humanity to row together with love and hope toward a more just future.